Unbelievable revelation, Millionaire stunned to discover former love now transformed into a laboratory scientist. Lucas Mercer tapped his fingers against the polished surface of his mahogany desk, the scent of rain wafting through the cracked window of his spacious San Francisco penthouse. It was an unexpected email that sent his world tipping on its axis. Jenna, the subject line read. His heart raced as memories flooded back, not of his current empire but of the quiet passions of a childhood spent with her in Indiana. Each sentence pulled him across time, revealing her transformation from the girl who shared dreams of science to a tenacious laboratory scientist dedicated to saving lives. The gravity of her mission weighed heavily against the prosperity he'd amassed. Millionaire, tech mogul, yet feeling empty. Was this the fate she'd envisioned when they held hands during summer nights, whispering their ambitions under starry skies? Guilt gnawed at him. His success felt hollow in comparison. Lucas remembered every moment of laughter, every ice cream cone shared. Now they lay heavy as a fog of regret. He had chased riches, yet in doing so, he'd abandoned the one person who truly mattered, but reaching out was excruciating. Lucas hovered above his keyboard, fingers itching to connect but paralyzed by uncertainty. Would she despise him for his absence? Would their history drown in the waves of resentment? He hesitated, fear building in his chest as waves of anxiety swamped his mind. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. After sending the email, the waiting felt like an eternity, each second a reminder of what he had lost. Lucas stepped into the dim light of his living room, where glass walls offered a panoramic view of rain-soaked streets reflecting vibrant city lights. As he paced, thoughts spiraled. Jenna had become an advocate in a male-dominated field, pushing past limits while he basked in recognition and wealth, void of purpose. The contrast haunted him. Had he succeeded or merely triumphed over himself? When Jenna finally responded, unveiling her struggles against bias in the academic world, irritation flared inside him. Disappointment clouded his mind. She was living his childhood dreams, breathing life into her ambitions while he swam in privilege. His chest tightened as he envisioned her, lights of determination in her eyes. More than a scientist, she was a hero, one who didn't need, perhaps didn't want, his help. Lucas's heart raced when he attended a presentation of her research at a university grant meeting. The air buzzed with tension, filled with a palpable sense of desperation and hope. He sat at the rear, nerves prickling his skin, captivated by her passion. Yet doubt rapidly enveloped him. Could he contribute without overshadowing her fierce independence? Each statistic she rattled off struck him like an accusation, revealing his own failures while she fought for those forgotten. He watched in passive admiration, their gaze briefly locked during the Q&A, and a storm swirled within him. "I can help you," he blurted out desperately, his voice betraying a mixture of urgency and regret. The room turned, murmurs ignited, but Jenna's expression, a subtle mix of anger and disbelief, cut deeper than any harsh word. The stakes pressed down, and for every glimmer of connection he thought they might rebuild, there were reminders of the chasm between them. He was wealth, she was purpose. The tightness in his throat reminded him, true support could mean stepping aside entirely. As Lucas watched her advocate fiercely, the ground shifted beneath his feet. There was no path forward as easy as he'd hoped, and he was left with spiraling questions of merit, forgiveness, and their shared past. Days bled into weeks as Lucas found himself entangled in a web of self-denial and burgeoning awareness. The initial thrill of reconnecting with Jenna shifted to a complex emotional landscape he struggled to navigate. Each sunrise brought with it the relentless weight of his past choices, feelings of inadequacy amplifying with every interaction in the tech world he had once dominated. He began seeking solace in constructive distractions, poring over research articles about advances in her field. The more he read, the more respect he garnered for her work, but also frustration at his own lack of direction. Lucas knew nothing could inform his decisions quite like first-hand experience. It rang through his mind like a mantra. If he wanted to connect with Jenna meaningfully, he had to do more than just admire her from afar. Determination ignited in him, prompting him to enroll in a basic biology course at the local university. The decision felt visceral, a burn encapsulating the urge to return to his roots and elevate himself beyond the confines of corporate ambition. Each class was an exercise in humility. Surrounded by keen students more attuned to the world of science, Lucas grappled with complexities that challenged his understanding. Concepts that seemed elementary were pillars of Jenna's expertise. Sitting through lectures, Lucas often felt like an intruder in a domain he had forsaken in pursuit of fleeting success. But he refused to back down. He was tired of feeling like an outsider in the sphere that defined Jenna's life. A spark of determination ignited each time the professor articulated topics that resonated with Jenna's research. He sensed the work she accomplished was not just about science, it was about affecting lives, something he yearned to be a part of in a way that felt sincere. That he practiced his newfound knowledge, sharing small insights when he and Jenna exchanged messages. To his surprise, she responded with enthusiasm, encouraging him to delve deeper into specific topics. Each interaction breathed life back into their connection. Yet the lingering shadows of doubt clouded his mind. Was this enough? Would she see him as a partner, or merely as a bystander? Finally awakening from a long slumber, the moment his path converged once more with Jenna's came unexpectedly. Lucas stumbled into her at a local cafe, her presence illuminating an ordinary afternoon. She was engrossed in conversation with a colleague, and an avalanche of emotions crashed over him, the exhilaration of seeing her juxtaposed with a gnawing fear of rejection. When they made eye contact, the air between them thickened. "Lucas?" she asked, surprise evident in her voice, a hint of cautious hope blossoming in her eyes. With his heart pounding, he stepped closer, the weight of his journey anchoring his determination. "I've been learning," he blurted out, his words tumbling out before he could second-guess himself. "I really want to understand your world better." Her eyebrows raised inquisitively, and the moment hung in the air, charged with potential and uncertainty. Could his desire for growth resonate with her struggles? Or would it reveal more about his insecurities than he intended? Before Jenna could respond, a chatty professor approached, plunging them into a casual discussion. Lucas found himself torn between wanting to listen intently and the desire to articulate his newfound perspective. As he participated, each word felt like a step toward bridging the distance stretched too far over the years, but the question loomed in his mind: was this just the beginning, or would his efforts only deepen the chasm between their lives? The stakes had never felt higher. Lucas had called out for help before, but now he stood on the brink of something more significant, a commitment to shared growth. And just as suddenly, the unsuspecting cafe door swung open, bringing an unexpected visitor who threw the balance once again into uncertainty. Lucas's composure faltered as he turned to see a face from his past, familiar yet laden with unresolved tension, challenging all he had dared to hope for. The figure stepping through the cafe door was none other than Sarah, the ambitious business partner Lucas had once trusted implicitly, yet alienated through the years. Her presence was an uninvited reminder of the corporate world he had distanced himself from, a sharp contrast to the vulnerability he was now embracing. Sarah's eyes scanned the room before locking onto Lucas, a mix of surprise and curiosity etched on her face. For a moment, the chaos surrounding them dissolved, and the noise of the cafe faded into a distant hum. Lucas felt a visceral pull, as if her gaze had tethered him to unresolved chapters of his life, chapters he thought he had successfully closed. "Lucas," Sarah said with a hint of hesitation, her voice drawing Jenna's attention away. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, it's been a while," Lucas replied, his stomach nodding. He was no longer the high-flying entrepreneur he once was, fully aware of the weight of his perceived failures gripping him like an anchor. He forced a smile, hoping to mask the uncertainty stewing beneath the surface. The warmth of Jenna's presence lingered nearby, but the inflection in Sarah's voice reminded him of why they had parted ways years ago. Before he could reconcile the situation, Sarah turned her attention to Jenna. "And who is this?" Jenna, intrigued yet wary, introduced herself, and the conversation swelled around them, but Lucas felt isolated within it, like standing on the edge of a conversation he no longer belonged to. As he drifted through the talk, small talk turned into the latest industry trends. "Still in tech?" Sarah asked him, her tone attempting casualness but betraying an undercurrent of judgment. "I'm exploring other avenues," Lucas answered, uncertain how his newfound interest in biology would be received by someone who once valued growth in the realm of ambition and profitability above all else. "Good for you," she replied, but her disbelief was clear. He sensed the undertone of skepticism behind the compliment, that sharp glint in her eye evaluating his current state as if it was a business prospect rather than a personal evolution. For the first time, Lucas realized he didn't care how Sarah perceived him or where he stood against her expectations. What mattered instead was the connection that had sparked with Jenna, her quiet enthusiasm gleaming through even the tension surrounding them. He stole a glance at Jenna, whose interest in him grew apparent despite the complexity of the moment. As the conversation continued, Lucas seized the opportunity. "Actually, I've enrolled in a biology course trying to learn more about Jenna's work," he offered, a surge of pride to share his pursuit. Her brows knitted together in surprise. "Really?" Sarah raised an eyebrow, feigning interest, but doubt shadowed her expression. Before the conversation could shift into condescension, Lucas felt a swell of affirmation. This was the pivotal moment he had long craved, not just to transform his life, but to affirm his choices. Sarah's reactions no longer dictated his worth, he was choosing growth on his terms. Pushing aside her feigned interest, he turned toward Jenna. "I want to understand what you're passionate about." The words fell from his lips with a clarity he had rarely experienced, replete with newfound determination, but then, Sarah's voice cut through. "I mean, how much can you really learn in a few short classes?" Lucas stiffened, the judgment stinging. The atmosphere shifted, tension clutching at his throat. He could feel Jenna's presence beside him grounding him, yet the moment shimmered precariously, balanced on the precipice of confrontation. Was Sarah right? Could a mere course truly change his perspective? Or was this journey merely a facade hiding deeper inadequacies? It was time to decide if he was willing to confront these insecurities head-on, not just for himself, but for the chance to build something real with Jenna. His pulse quickened as he prepared to respond confidently. The moment felt heavy with anticipation, each second stretching taut with latent potential. Would he declare a new course for his life, one that transcended the shadow of his past in front of the very people who embodied it? The clarity of the moment loomed. The time had come to face not just Sarah, but the man he had been, and the man he needed to be. What revelations awaited him beyond this confrontation? Would he rise or falter at this critical juncture? The weight of Sarah's words hung between them, charged with the electricity of unspoken histories and barely concealed judgments. Time seemed to slow as Lucas weighed his response, the din of the cafe now fully on the periphery, distant chatter, the hiss of the espresso machine, the clack of cups on saucers barely registering. "Learning doesn't have a timeline," he finally said, his voice steadying. "It's about the journey and the experiences along the way." He dared to meet her gaze directly, defiance sparking within him. This was not just a response to Sarah, it was a declaration to himself. Each word drove deeper, cementing his commitment to who he was now. Her smirk faltered for a moment, revealing a crack in the facade of skepticism she maintained. "That's certainly optimistic." Lucas felt Jenna's presence shift at his side, her attention peaked. The comfort he had sought from her was now emboldening him to stand firm. "I'm not looking for someone to validate my choices anymore, Sarah. I'm interested in something real, beyond the metrics and quantitative measures." Each syllable resonated in the silence, sparking a flicker of surprise in Jenna's eyes. Lucas turned slightly to Jenna, his sincerity enveloping the space between them. "I want to know more about your research, about what excites you. I think we all deserve that chance." In the ensuing silence, he sensed the tension distill, while Sarah's position as the corporate skeptic wavered just for an instant. He didn't register her response, his focus remained on Jenna, whose warm gaze felt like a lifeline. They were venturing into a territory both uncharted and exhilarating, igniting a curiosity that transcended Lucas's past, yet, the confrontation with Sarah still loomed behind them, simmering like a tightly coiled spring. He sensed her breathing shift. You might want to keep your expectations realistic, Lucas. Some passions don't pay the bills. A spark ignited within him, a flight instinct battling against his desire to maintain his ground. What did she know about passion? What had she ever truly sacrificed for it? The question flowed through his mind as he crafted a more measured response. Perhaps passion can lead to something profitable, maybe not in the same way you've known, but its rewards can be just as valuable, Lucas shot back, his voice now laced with confidence. From the corner of his eye, he noticed Jenna nodding ever so slightly, her subtle support filling him with determination. Heat coursed through him as he confronted yet another layer of his past. The need to have Sarah's approval had been a debilitating part of his identity. Convincing himself he needed to prove worth beyond monetary success was a hurdle he could now leap. The moment crystallized, and he sensed it was a pivotal juncture in his own evolution. Lucas had slowly pieced together who he was, all those small victories, the courage to follow his newfound passion, and, most importantly, the hope sweeping through as he considered the world outside of the corporate high-rise. The cafe felt different, bathed in the light of change, yet he still held a crucial question: was he ready to redefine his relationships with others, especially with Sarah? Don't underestimate the desire to grow and learn, regardless of where it might lead, he stated firmly, the fierceness in his voice a newfound assertion of self. Jenna's smile broadened, and the connection sparked between them once more. Voices started to swell around them, but Lucas felt encapsulated in the moment, one of clarity layered with hope. He could feel a kinship forming, enveloping him in warmth amidst the chill of Sarah's skepticism, but as Lucas captured Jenna's gaze that whispered unspoken possibilities and futures, anticipation prickled within him. Would he fully embrace this new direction in his life, or would the shadows of his past pull him back into the depths? Unfurling before him lay a dizzying array of choices, each path murky with uncertainty but shining with promise. What awaited him beyond this threshold of newfound confidence and clarity? The choices were his alone to make, but the fear of failure still lingered ominously, an aching reminder of the man he was striving to leave behind. Would Lucas muster the strength for the next phase of his journey, or would the past haunt him louder than the whispers of hope? His heart raced as he recognized the stakes, teetering on the edge of a transformation one he had yearned for but had never fully confronted. The true test loomed large, and it beckoned him forward into profound unknowns. What path would he choose? Lucas barely processed Sarah's retreating figure as she left the cafe, his breath still heavy from their exchange. The air that had felt charged moments before now seemed lighter, yet carried the weight of uncharted territories. He turned back to Jenna, needing to anchor himself in that fleeting connection of mutual understanding. I didn't expect you to stand up to her like that, Jenna said, a mixture of admiration and surprise in her eyes. That he chuckled softly, the sound new and unfamiliar to him, it felt foreign yet liberating. Neither did I, honestly. But I'm tired of seeking approval. It feels different. A flicker of mischief danced across Jenna's face. Maybe that should be our focus, discovering what different means for you. They spent the next hour poring over her research notes, Jenna's passion spilling into the conversation like warm, vibrant colors. Lucas watched her effortlessly articulate her ideas, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. He felt a swell of inspiration growing within himself. It was contagious, pushing aside lingering doubts that he began to consider his own motivations for studying. To understand computers? To impress the corporate world? Or perhaps, lurking deeper than that, there was a tangible desire to create something meaningful. Curiosity led him to ask Jenna several probing questions, revealing nuances in her work that he hadn't considered. Each answer drew him further into her world, igniting synapses in his brain that had been dulled by the monotonous cycle of corporate life. Have you ever considered showcasing your research to a broader audience? He inquired, as the two of them huddled over her laptop. You have a unique perspective. Honestly, I've been too focused on the coursework to think about that, she admitted, a shadow of self-doubt creeping over her features. But maybe a flicker of recognition flared in Lucas. His own insecurities began surfacing, mirroring hers. What's holding you back? What if it fails? What if others don't accept it? The silence hung heavy. Exactly. Fear of judgment, she replied softly, her voice dripping with the painstaking honesty that characterized their exchanges. Funny, isn't it? We both suffer from the same fear but face it in entirely different arenas, Lucas reasoned, drawing a connection between their two worlds. Intrigued by the prospect, he leaned back, pondering the potential of this shared vulnerability. He realized then that confronting his past didn't mean being defined by it. Perhaps Sarah's skepticism and the corporate jargon that suffocated him no longer held the power they once did. This realization unfurled new dimensions of himself, unearthing a foundation to build on that was rooted in exploration rather than fear. With renewed determination, Lucas noticed the tension between them morphing into something akin to partnership. What started as chemistry and ideas developed into a tantalizing web of aspirations. Taking a deep breath, Lucas pressed onward. What if we collaborated? We could merge your research with my tech skills. Create something innovative, maybe even groundbreaking. I can help you present it. To get it out there. Jenna stared at him, brow furrowed, sensing both the enormity of the idea and the leap into the unknown it required. Are you serious? I am, Lucas affirmed, his voice echoing with newfound sureness. It's about moving forward, together. No expectations but our own. Her smile spread again, unearthing walls he didn't know still existed within him. For the first time in ages, he envisioned a dance of creativity, collaboration, and daring exploration. But he was also acutely aware of the risks. Would he falter under pressure? Would he allow self-doubt to steal this opportunity from him? As they reveled in the possibilities, Lucas wondered not just what achievements lay ahead but also what would emerge from this shaky partnership. The next layer of his journey had just revealed itself, one that promised personal development alongside professional aspiration, yet, amidst the fervor, questions anchored themselves in his mind. What if he wasn't capable of what he aspired to? What if their partnership crumbled under pressure? His heart drummed with the promise of breakthrough but also wariness. Veering too far away from the familiar could lead to exhilaration or devastation. What choice would he make when faced with the real challenges of partnership? The answers loomed, tantalizing and unsettling, as he leaned heavily into this exhilarating abyss. The moment had come to confront not just his past but also his potential future. Would he embrace this evolution wholeheartedly or let fear weave its suffocating threads around him again? The following week, Lucas and Jenna settled into a routine that felt both exhilarating and daunting. They met each day at the cafe, their makeshift workshop, surrounded by the soft hum of conversation and the scent of coffee that lingered in the air. With every meeting, they delved deeper into Jenna's research and explored how technology could elevate her ideas, transforming abstract concepts into tangible tools for audiences beyond the classroom. Each time they collaborated, a surge of creativity enveloped him. Lucas thrived on the interactions, feeding off Jenna's passion, which began to reshape his understanding of his own capabilities. He no longer approached their discussions with the hesitance of a novice, rather, he felt like a co-pilot, as both of them navigated this uncharted territory, yet, shadows of doubt remained. Every breakthrough they made was tinged with questions about their worthiness and the inevitability of judgment from those outside their circle. In moments of quiet, when they would pause to reflect on their work, Lucas often caught himself staring at Jenna. He admired her focus and intense blend of determination and vulnerability. But in the same breath, he grappled with his fear of inadequacy looming like a storm overhead. One afternoon, while discussing potential presentations, Lucas hesitated before speaking. What if we pitched this idea to a local innovation incubator? It might give us the credibility to share your work more widely. Jenna looked up, her eyes wide, as though the thought itself startled her. You mean actually put ourselves out there? With people who might scrutinize us? The tremor in her voice mirrored his own inner conflict. Exactly, Lucas responded, trying to mask the tremor in his own heart. But what gains might come from it? We can't let fear dictate our outcomes. As they brainstormed, Lucas felt fleeting moments of euphoria, imagining the possibilities of their project taking flight. But that same fear re-emerged. The prospect of exposure evoked personal and professional insecurities he had thought he was overcoming. What if he stumbled during their presentation? What if their ideas were rejected? He grappled with the reality that entering the incubator meant risking public exposure, the same kind of exposure he had recoiled from during his corporate experiences. It was a paradigm shift, demanding significant personal evolution. Weeks blended into one another as they refined their presentation. Late nights filled with caffeine and a shared vision also gave way to doubts. The strain began to reveal itself. Jenna's usual spontaneity waned, her laughter more tentative. Lucas noticed the change. The unspoken fears bound them like chains, and their once eager partnership felt overshadowed by a creeping doubt. "Are you okay?" he would sometimes ask, only to receive a strained smile in return. "Just pushing through," she'd say, though he could see the worry etched in her expression. Their connection remained one rooted in their shared vulnerability, yet the pressure of the forthcoming pitch gnawed at them both. What if their communal aspirations cracked under scrutiny? As the day of their presentation loomed closer, Lucas sat in front of his laptop, poring over their slides, rewriting, reformatting, trying to distract himself from the whirlwind of anxiety that churned in his chest. The glaring fear was clear as he pondered whether they were ready for the outside world. With one final glance at the slides, clarity struck him, a realization embedded deep within his journey: failure might be the precursor to growth, not the endpoint of their ambition. Success or rejection, what mattered most was their journey toward self-discovery and courage. He began typing, crafting an impassioned introduction that encapsulated not just their idea but also the raw journey of two individuals confronting their fears through collaboration. As he finished, resolve blossomed within him, yet anticipation thickened the air. Would this leap into uncertainty yield empowerment or simply reinforce his insecurities? At that moment, Lucas understood. It was time to confront his fears and redefine what success meant. But would his newfound resolve be enough when faced with actual scrutiny? Would the depth of their preparation carry them through the inevitable challenges? The next day would not only determine the fate of their project, but also the evolution of him as a person, an elegantly poised dichotomy between fear and ambition. The moment of courage had arrived, but uncertainty loomed large in the background, ready to either uplift or devastate. In the quiet desperation of that final night before the pitch, Lucas willed himself to sleep, but rest eluded him. His mind buzzed incessantly, replaying every potential scenario, every awkward silence that could occur during their presentation. The stakes felt monumental. Were they truly ready to unveil their ideas? Each time the images of their project flickered to life, accompanied by the rush of adrenaline, shadows of self-doubt crept silently into the foreground. The cafe table felt more like a battleground in the early morning light, adorned with their slides and notes like a faded tapestry. With each meticulous adjustment of their visuals, the fear transformed into a sharper kind of clarity, sharpening his focus. He was now wholly aware that the real challenge lay not just in what they would present, but in how it would shape both of their futures. With Jenna due to join him any minute, Lucas closed his eyes and recalled his initial trepidation when they had started this journey. That Lucas was tentative, consumed by a fear that overshadowed his aspirations. Yet now, he had become someone renewed and fused with purpose, despite uncertainty looming ominously at the edges of his resolve. As Jenna arrived, her demeanor was noticeably altered. He caught a stray flicker of confidence return as she approached, but an undercurrent of worry still threaded through her movements. "Ready?" she asked, a smile breaking through the tension that had overtaken their days. "As ready as we'll ever be," Lucas replied, though his voice carried a hint of hesitation. They situated themselves in a private nook of the cafe. They were no longer just creators, they were contenders. Lucas reached for their project notes, taking solace in the familiarity of their collaborative struggle. Each slide felt like a stepping stone from the status quo to something far greater. "This is it," Jenna whispered, absorbing the weight of their collective dreams. Crossing her arms, she appeared somewhat smaller despite her towering ideals. Lucas reflected on their journey, how they had nurtured this dream from obscurity to something almost palpable, yet was it merely an illusion? As they rehearsed their pitch for the umpteenth time, Lucas noted Jenna's hesitancy re-emerging with every line she spoke. He followed suit, matching the rise and fall of her voice, but internally, the doubts danced just below his calm facade. Were they ready to share this vulnerability with a jury of strangers, people who might not understand that this was more than a project? This was a manifestation of commitment, shared passion, and the delicate unraveling of their individual fears. "I think we need to emphasize our personal journey here," Lucas suggested cautiously. Jenna's brow furrowed. "You think so? I mean, will they even care about us?" "They will," he insisted, drawing on what he had learned from their countless discussions. "It humanizes our project. We're not just two people pushing an idea, we're embodying it." Her gaze softened, and Lucas recognized the truth of his words. The pitch wasn't merely about technology or educational barriers, it was about the courage to transform. Even when faced with potential rejection, they ironed out the details, solidifying their narrative, and for the first time in weeks, a glimmer of excitement sparked between them. This was a chance to not only showcase their innovation but also to reflect their journey of bravery and growth. As the clock ticked closer to their pitch time, a blend of exhilaration and fear surged through Lucas. This wasn't just about winning over a panel, it was a moment before the world that offered acceptance or judgment, the kind that had always haunted him. Yet now, liberation flickered in the air, a chance to showcase his journey of growth alongside Jenna's. The time had come to face uncertainty head-on, to take the plunge into their potential. As they gathered their materials, Lucas locked eyes with Jenna, and it was clear, together, they would unveil their truth, regardless of the outcome. This was more than just a pitch, it was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. But as they rose to leave, Lucas's heartbeat quickened in anticipation of what awaited. Would this moment catalyze their dreams, or would the shadows of their fears consume them both once and for all? As they stepped out of the cafe, the cool air hit Lucas like a wave of clarity, washing over the murk of anxiety that had clouded his mind for days. This was at the moment that could redefine everything. Despite old fears bubbling just beneath the surface, determination surged forth, fueling his resolve. He was not just stepping into a presentation, he was stepping into a manifestation of every late night, every doubt shared with Jenna, and every promise made to himself that he would no longer let fear dictate his path. The venue loomed ahead, a glass and steel structure that shimmered under the sunlight, but to Lucas, it felt like a fortress holding back everything he yearned for. As they approached, Jenna fell silent, her hand gripping the printed notes tightly as if they were the only anchor keeping her grounded. Lucas offered her a reassuring smile, but internally he wrestled with the deep-rooted voice that had whispered, "Not enough," for so long. He would not allow it to triumph now. Walking through the front doors, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. The space was filled with potential, innovators and entrepreneurs milling around, their own dreams cast in the soft glow of the stage lights. Lucas's heart raced, the excitement palpable yet tainted with the remnants of anxiety. They had worked diligently, but the nagging thought lingered: what if this moment unraveled everything they had built? What if their narrative failed to resonate? They checked in at the registration desk, their badges hanging around their necks like heavy anchors. Lucas noted the buzz of conversations around him, the confident pitches, the booming laughter, the charged murmurs. It was a reality check. He was surrounded by ambitious, like-minded individuals who had undoubtedly battled their own fears. "Let us find a spot to breathe for a second," Lucas suggested, directing Jenna toward a quieter corner of the room. As they settled in, he could see the tension etched in her features. He had seen her insecurities surface before, but this felt different, more profound. "Are we really going to do this?" Jenna's voice trembled slightly, her confidence wavering as she bit her lip. "Remember our discussions, Jenna? This is not just about the project. We have something unique to share that can inspire others," Lucas reassured her. Yet, while he spoke, waves of doubt washed over him too. The idea of bearing their journey felt monumental. Who were they to think it could make a difference? "We can tell them about our journey, how we found a purpose through struggle," he insisted, searching for a spark in her eyes. But uncertainty lingered, and as Jenna nodded slowly, Lucas wondered if their emotional sincerity would be enough to carry them through. As minutes slipped away, a sudden shift occurred. Their names were called, echoing in the grand hall. The world narrowed around them, muffled and distant, consumed by the impending moment. "Showtime," he muttered, forcing a grin that belied the anxieties clashing within him. As they approached the stage, the pull of the unknown beckoned him. This was a crucible for growth, a decisive confrontation with their fears and aspirations. Standing in front of that panel, Lucas felt something click inside him. Maybe it was the realization that vulnerability weaponized their narrative. They were not merely voices in a sea of ambition, they had the power to connect on a deeply human level. But as they began, pulling the audience into their story, another thought gnawed at him. What if their truth didn't land? What if the narrative they had crafted fell flat and left them standing alone in their failures? His throat tightened as he faced the panel, ready to share everything they had poured their hearts into: their struggles, their vision, and their dreams. Would this lead them to validation, or would it cut them down, dragging them back to their fears? The silence around him felt heavy, as if time had slowed to a standstill. He glanced at Jenna, determination igniting between them, and they stepped into the unknown together, ready to unveil every ounce of their journey. As Lucas spoke the first words that bridged his heart to the audience, an inner voice whispered, "Ready or not, here comes the truth." Here came the leap into the void. The outcome remained both thrilling and terrifying, but what Lucas didn't know was that this moment would challenge not just their dreams, but carve out unexpected revelations about their very selves, forcing them to confront not only professional aspirations but their relationship as well. The spotlight enveloped them as Lucas took a deep breath, his voice breaking the heavy silence that sat like a palpable weight in the air. He could feel every eye in the audience locked onto him, every ear strained to catch the pulse of their narrative. The journey was no longer just theirs, it was becoming a collective experience, hinged on the authenticity of their struggles and triumphs. As he launched into their story, the familiar rhythm of their trials poured out of him with an urgency he hadn't anticipated. He described sleepless nights, the endless revisions of their project, and how every setback had taught them resilience. Jenna, standing alongside him, exuded strength, sharing her perspective with a newfound clarity that surprised even Lucas. It was in these moments, he realized, that they were both evolving, yet just as he began to feel a shift beneath his apprehension, a nagging thought crawled back into his consciousness: was their vulnerability enough? The audience's expressions were inscrutable, and despite the resonance he felt while presenting, the weight of expectations could still crush them if the crowd failed to connect. Each word was a tightrope walk between ambition and doubt, and every pause echoed in his mind like an unsettling void. When he glanced at Jenna, he saw her in the moment. She was unfiltered and raw. Her passion for their mission radiated in her tone, sparking a fervor within him. With each passing second, he could feel their connection deepening, not just as co-presenters, but as partners united in a cause larger than their individual fears. Yet the fragility of that moment was stark. What if they faltered? Lucas's heart thundered in his chest as he envisioned the potential fallout. Would their dreams dissolve, leaving them exposed and vulnerable, stripped of purpose? He grappled with this fear, fighting the instinct to withdraw, to shield himself from potential rejection. But as he spoke of their shared vision, a goal not just to conform to the market, but to carve a niche infused with genuine passion, something within him began to shift. "I learned that true strength is birthed from vulnerability," he articulated, the words flowing with an unexpected conviction. "It's our struggles that guide us and shape who we become. We are not just telling our story, we are inviting you to explore what it means to find purpose amidst chaos." A murmur rippled through the audience in response, and Lucas detested how much he craved their validation. Yet, at that moment, he realized that the willingness to embrace uncertainty was a profound strength. As they wrapped up their presentation, a mix of applause and contemplation filled the room. Lucas and Jenna stepped off the stage, exhilaration brewing within him. But beneath that thrill lay a thick layer of introspection. Had they truly conveyed their essence and the lessons learned through their journey? Questions churned in his mind, propelling him into an uncharted territory of self-awareness. This moment wasn't merely about their project, it was pushing him into a deeper realization of his capabilities. Could he harness this newfound insight to steer them both toward greater ambitions? Before he could settle into the afterthoughts, emotions bubbling over from the presentation, a figure approached them, a sharp-suited individual with an electrifying aura about him. Lucas's heart raced. This man carried an unmistakable energy, a prominent investor, by the looks of it. The mix of excitement and anxiety surged again, thickening the air around them. "Your story, it's compelling. I think you've just scratched the surface of potential," the man said, locking eyes with them. Lucas felt a rush of adrenaline coupled with fear. Was this an opportunity, or another test of their resolve? The time had come to face the lingering implications of their journey, both professionally and personally. Who were they to take the next step? The question hung in the air, enticing them into a deeper confrontation with their next chapter as unknown possibilities loomed ahead. Lucas stood outside the incubator's building, the cool breeze stirring a mix of anticipation and trepidation in his chest. Following their presentation, he felt the weight of the moment, a culmination of labored dreams and newfound confidence. He and Jenna had shattered the barriers of their insecurities, but the path ahead remained uncertain. The weeks that followed were transformative for both of them. They had garnered considerable attention, not just from potential investors but also from a growing network of industry peers impressed by their authenticity. As they navigated through meetings and feedback sessions, Lucas felt the gradual shift in his self-perception. The doubts that had accompanied him throughout his journey dissipated, replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging in the scientific community. His evenings, once filled with corporate reports and missed connections, became vibrant with collaborative brainstorming. Each conversation with Jenna unfurled the vastness of their ambitions, merging her scientific pursuits with his technological expertise. She was no longer just a childhood friend rekindling the past. Jenna had evolved into a profound influence in his life, her passion driving him to redefine his own aspirations beyond wealth. During one memorable moment in their work, Jenna pitched an idea to host a community seminar showcasing their project. "This could amplify our reach," she suggested, excitement dancing in her eyes. Lucas couldn't help but smile as he recognized the fire ignited within her, a fire he too began to feel. They scheduled a date, creating a platform for not only their research but also a chance to inspire other burgeoning scientists grappling with uncertainties like those they had endured. On the day of the seminar, the room buzzed with energy, a blend of nervousness and excitement that felt familiar yet invigorating. As he looked at Jenna preparing her materials, Lucas recalled the man he had been just a few months earlier, caught in the relentless pursuit of superficial success. Now, he stood on the precipice of purpose, ready to present not just their project, but the growth he had earned. The seminar began, and as Lucas stepped to the podium beside Jenna, he took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment. "Today, we're not just discussing technology," he began, the steadiness of his voice surprising him. "We're sharing a journey of transformation, one that speaks to our individual fears and shared dreams." Each statistic he offered about their research resonated with newfound clarity as he connected their narrative of struggle with potential. The energy in the room intensified, visibly engaging the audience faces, reflecting interest, comprehension, and empathy. Together, they shared anecdotes about their challenges, the moments of self-doubt, and the tenacity it took to pivot from the shadows of doubt to the luminescence of growth. They emphasized vulnerability as a source of strength, inspiring their audience to embrace their own paths without fear of judgment or failure. At the conclusion, Lucas witnessed the spark ignite within the audience, a collective inspiration turning into a palpable energy. Hands shot up in eager response, questions flooded in, and they expertly navigated each inquiry with adeptness, demonstrating the depth of their understanding. As the day ended, applause enveloped them like a warm embrace. A tangible recognition now surrounded Lucas, affirming the importance of their choices. They had not only achieved credibility but had earned respect, a testament to their unwavering commitment to each other and their mission. In the weeks that followed, news of their seminar spread, leading to more inquiries and connections. Lucas found himself embracing opportunities he once shied away from, confident in the foundation he had built alongside Jenna. Their ongoing partnership blossomed into something powerful, a blend of trust, respect, and shared ambitions. Lucas sat in his penthouse one evening, looking out over the shimmering skyline of San Francisco. He felt the weight of his previous life lift, replaced by a buoyancy filled with purpose. He thought about how far he had come, the lessons he had learned about vulnerability and connection. No longer did his measures of success revolve around wealth, they were now intertwined with personal fulfillment and shared growth. A flicker of pride swelled in his heart. He could appreciate the journey, recognizing that true achievement lay not in the destination but in the transformation he had experienced. Lucas had become a formidable force in both his personal life and increasingly in academic circles, a testament that fulfillment stemmed from authentic passion over mere financial gain. It was a journey of triumph, and as he raised a glass of wine towards the city lights, he reflected on the future ahead. With Jenna by his side, he felt equipped to forge a path leading beyond the corporate facade, towards something infinitely deeper. He had not just rediscovered himself, but had learned to pursue dreams that truly mattered. Now, as you're inspired by this remarkable journey of personal growth and transformation, remember your support is essential for our storytelling mission. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that await. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for these empowering narratives. Comment below with your reactions and theories about how this story resonates with you. Let your voice be heard. And lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let's spread the message of personal growth and the power of overcoming challenges.